Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel. I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. And in honor of the Olympics, which are starting very soon, I want to cover a very special topic today, which is the International Olympic Committee's Refugee Olympic Team. Many of you may have not known that there is actually a specific team for refugees that don't hang under any specific national flag, but are representatives of the International Olympic Committee. So in this video, I want to talk about what the Refugee Olympic Team is, how it was actually started, and then I want to highlight some of the athletes that are going to be participating in the Tokyo 2020 Games that are starting very soon. And hopefully you can check out some of these athletes and watch their progression along the way. So what is the IOC Refugee Olympic Team? So it was first announced in 2015 and made its debut in the Olympic Games in Rio in 2016. So the first team actually had 10 athletes from Ethiopia, South Sudan, Syria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And now for this year, the IOC Refugee Olympic Team will be represented in the Olympics for the second time, which is of course now in July of 2021 when the Tokyo 2020 Games get underway. So for the Tokyo 2020 Games, 29 athletes will actually be representing the Refugee Olympic Team. They'll compete in many different sports such as athletics, badminton, boxing, judo, swimming, and more. So definitely do be sure to keep a lookout for them. Why was this team even created? Let's first talk about who a refugee is very quickly. According to UNHCR, a refugee is someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, or violence. In March of 2016, the IOC Executive Board agreed to create a team to provide potential athletes who were affected by different refugee crises a chance to qualify for and participate in Olympic Games, since this can be very difficult since their countries that they originally came from may not have Olympic teams, or there might be reasons why they might not want to compete for those teams and may also need some additional help and support because of being uprooted. So according to the International Olympic Committee president in 2016, Thomas Bach, he said, by welcoming the team of refugee Olympic athletes, and this was how the team was originally known, to the Olympic Games in Rio of 2016, we want to send a message of hope for all refugees around the world. Another important aspect of the team is to make sure to increase global knowledge and attention of the scale of the international refugee crisis. I think especially also this year, the team will also remind the world of the ongoing refugee crisis that has continued throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. So this team is really important to help shed light on the current situation also of refugees. So who will take part in the Games? So the final Refugee Olympic Team was chosen from a pool of 56 athletes who fled their home countries and were given scholarships to train for the Olympics in their new countries of destination, or their new countries where they're currently being hosted. So all members of the team are supported by the IOC Refugee Athlete Scholarship, which were launched after the success of the first refugee team in 2016. More than $2 million has been invested in the athletes' preparation for the Tokyo Olympics since 2016, according to the IOC. According to the IOC, the members of the final team were selected first and foremost on each athlete's sporting performance and their refugee status as confirmed by UNHCR. So the person's background and a balanced representation in terms of sports, gender, and religions also played a role in who was able to make the team in the end. And of course, all of the athletes that were even considered for this all have refugee status. So for the purpose of this video, we'll just look at a selection of the athletes that have been chosen from each sport. And the athletes here selected highlight a diversity of the situations in which refugees find themselves today. So now let's look at who these 29 people are, or let's look at a selection of who some of these athletes are, and I hope you'll also check them out during the Games. So let's look first at Jamal Aissa, who will be performing in the athletics competition. He is originally from Darfur and had to flee at a very young age and also had to part with his mother and siblings. He traveled throughout Egypt and the Sinai Desert before he reached his final destination of Israel, where he was granted refugee protection. He actually has a new kind of athlete's home with the Ali Runners Club in Tel Aviv. And this group supports and gives opportunities to underprivileged athletes. So the club also helped not only with his athletic performance, but also helped with his integration in Israel. And Jamal credits the club with helping him integrate into the new country, helping teaching him Hebrew, and serving as a strong support and network for him. Another athlete who will be competing in athletics is Rose Nikoniam. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the names correctly. So Rose and her family left South Sudan because of war and arrived in the Kakuma refugee camp in 2002. Her parents went back to South Sudan, though, in 2008, but she and her siblings remained in Kakuma and was selected, actually, for the first refugee Olympic team for the Games in 2016. She was actually the flag bearer for these Games. Ever since, she has been making headway in a number of international competitions, and we look forward to seeing what she's going to be able to do in Tokyo 2020. Now we can look at Aram Mohammed, who's going to be playing badminton in the Tokyo Games. Aram is a badminton player who was forced to flee his war-torn Syria after he could no longer safely go to school and continue his training. Both he and his sister used to play for the Syrian national team, and they secured a silver in doubles in the Bahrain International Tournament for the under-19s. He now lives in the Netherlands, also where I live, and he recently reached the quarterfinals at the 2019 Portuguese International Championships. He is also credited with sport and helping him to settle in his new life and meet new people in the Netherlands. So we'll definitely be having a look out for him. Then we can look at Eldrick Rodriguez, who will be doing boxing at the Olympics. He was born in Caracas, Venezuela. When he finished school, he decided not to go to university and instead focus on a boxing career, which allowed him to secure a place in the national team of Venezuela at the time. But the uncertainty of life that he and his family lived in Venezuela, and the increased violence and the humanitarian crisis made him leave the country to find a safer place in Trinidad and Tobago. He has now also been joined by his father, who is his coach, and he is still training with full dedication and commitment to fulfilling his dreams and taking part in the Olympic Games. We can also look at Saeed Fazlola, who will be doing canoeing and kayak in flat water. He's also originally from Iran and was a successful canoeist who's competed in many major competitions. He has also won a number of medals in different games and different championships. In 2015, after he received threats, he decided to flee his country to find a more secure place where he could also live without facing persecution. After migrating and taking the Balkan route through Europe, he made it to Germany, where he's now training and living. And he again also credits his sports club and his coach and his training group for helping him settle in his new life in Germany. Now we'll turn to Mazoma Zada, and she will be competing in road cycling. She's originally from Afghanistan, but spent her early years in exile in Iran. So this is actually often very common for many Afghan refugees, that before finding their way to another country, they have often spent time in Iran or Pakistan. So after her time in Iran, she went back to Afghanistan for some time, and she actually went to high school and university in Kabul to study sport. But this is not very common for women in Afghanistan, and she actually has come up against a lot of criticisms and difficulties by more conservative parts of the Afghan community. So she first also worked as a sports teacher and started a cycling group with other young women, and despite, of course, the disapproval from different conservative parts of society who do not see this as a place where women can be involved. She's also a member of the Hazara minority, which is a specific minority group in Afghanistan, and this made things even more difficult for her. But her group also gained more attention and famous, and then she actually joined the national cycling team. In 2016, though, because of pressure from certain parts of the society, she and her family left Afghanistan and were able to claim asylum in France. She's now actually studying civil engineering and in the second year of university in Lille, where she lives with her sister. So we look forward to seeing her and her performance in the Olympic Games. So another female participant is Muna Dahouk. She will be represented in judo. She fled from Syria in 2018 to join her mother in the Netherlands. She also started judo in Damascus when she was only 6 with her sister, who also competed in judo, and thanks to her dad, who was a judo instructor. She never stopped and now competes in the 63 kilogram category in judo. And besides a sporting career, she's actually studied physical education. She has also a number of accolades to her name, and we look forward to seeing her in the Tokyo Olympics. Another person who will be competing in judo is Javad Mahmoud. So Javad was born in Iran before he fled his country. He's now living and training in Canada, and he also has a long list of impressive sporting results from his previous competitions. So we look forward to see what he'll be doing also in the Olympics. So another person that we will highlight in this video is Yusra Mardini, who will be competing in swimming. Prior to the war in Syria, Yasra was a competitive swimmer who actually represented her country in international competitions. But after the war intensified, Yasra and her sister left Damascus in early 2015 and reached Berlin in September of 2015. She was also selected to compete in Rio in 2016 as part of the first ever Refugee Olympic Team. She was also appointed as the youngest ever UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador in 2017. She released a book in 2018 about her story, and a film is also set to be made. So we definitely look forward to those things and to her performance in Japan. So another person that we'll look at highlighting here in this video is Luna Solomon, who will be represented in shooting. Luna is an Eritrean refugee who fled her country and arrived in Switzerland in 2015. While she was actually living in Lausanne, she met a 3-time Olympic champion sport shooter who offered her a chance to take up the discipline air rifle. She has been able to enter the Olympic Games. So really exciting to also see what she will do. So I hope this just gave you a very quick look at some athletes that will be competing in the Tokyo Olympics. I also hope this gave you a better understanding of the fact that there is even a Refugee Olympic Team, why they were created, and have a look out for them at this year's Olympics. If you like this video, please do like, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos that I'll upload every week on different migration aspects. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.